With the record labels, you could pay off that advance. They still own your masters. I've recouped. I've made the money 10, 15 times over, and you just get to own the masters. You still get this money. It's crazy to me.
Self motivation. That's why I said you have to be intrinsically motivated if you're going to get anywhere. A lot of people want to blame everybody but themselves. You will always find people like yourself out there. So if you yourself aren't doing shit, you're going to be surrounded by other people who aren't doing shit. And the people who aren't going to want to work with you. That's all I'm saying. It's the simplest concept, but people still don't get it. An extension of that is the fact that a lot of artists in the music business, even rich artists in the music business, don't understand the structures of their deals. We saw it, unfortunately, with Snoop Dogg when Dame made the video addressing why Snoop was confused about his low royalty payout from his publisher. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if there's confusion at that high of a level, there's confusion everywhere. And we, as the creators of music, have a long way to go. So this is part 2. We're going to talk about the Moneyman situation and the Kreayshawn situation here on At Odds with EP&D. Brought to you by Two Lost. Get free distribution for 3 months. TwoLost.com. Use the code PAIN to get free music distribution for 3 months, and your track will not get deleted if you decide not to continue using Two Lost. All the music you upload will stay. So very recently, Moneyman made the statement about label advances, which is, and this is just kind of like the headline version, if a label gives you $1 million as an advance, you're going to have to pay back 8 or 9 million. Obviously, I think he was exaggerating just for the point of making it clear that there's this major discrepancy between what you get and what you have to pay back before you can even out your royalty account and get paid more. But honestly, I can conceive of a situation where an artist could get $1 million in advance and end up having to recoup 8 million just to get another check from the label. I can see that label math happening, depending on the project, depending on the deal, depending on the leverage of the artist, depending on what went into creating that project.
But they're not paying it back though. So just real quickly, if I can do this, set up an example.
Oh yeah, this conversation, please, Dan, please.
What Moneyman is saying is that, let's just say he's in a deal where he gets 10%, right? He gets 10% of royalties, right? And if he's given $100,000, he has to pay back that $100,000 out of his 10%, right? Because a lot of people think it's like, okay, if I get an advance of $100,000, once my record grosses $100,000, all right, cool, we pay that back, and now I get my split. No, if you have a low percentage royalty rate, so let's just make it 10% to make the math easy. If you get $100,000, and then once that record grosses $1 million, because 10% of $1 million is 100,000, because your piece was 100,000 of that million. So that's going to go back to paying that off. So the record label had already made 900,000 before you started getting paid anything, right? I think I did that math. Right. So that's,
yeah, look, the label will always make more.
Yeah. So Moneyman is saying that you have to pay it back. You don't technically pay it back. You were only owed 100,000 out of that million because that's the deal you signed. But now you have to pay that back out of your percentage. It's not a situation where all of the money goes back to paying the advance and then you start getting paid out. You pay it back out of your percentage. So if you have a very small percentage or very small royalty rate, then it's going to take a very long time to pay that money back because you have to pay it back out of your money. It's not a profit sharing deal.
Well, let's be careful because recoupment and paying back are two different things. And a lot of people are probably defecating themselves right now thinking that they themselves have to pay the label advance back in full. Otherwise, they're going to have loan sharks, at their door.
And that's why it's not a loan. It's not a loan. It's not a loan. It's not going to impact your credit if you don't pay it back. Like, sometimes labels take a loss, and that's their justification for doing a lot of the things they do. It's like, because they place a lot of bets, and some artists, maybe a lot of artists, don't end up recouping, or they lose money on them. That's their reason for doing some of the shady stuff that they do. And whether it's true or false, I don't know, but
Yeah.
you should know.
But the fact is, we're going to hear a ton of talk about an advance being a loan, and that's why people are like, well, that's why I don't take big producer advances. Like, you're dumb as shit. If you are offered 10,000 and like, you know what, I'll just take 1,000, and the project never recoups, you just lost 9,000 because you thought you had to pay back the full 10,000. You don't have to pay back anything. It doesn't even affect your other accounts on that particular label if you're a producer selling beats. With an artist, it's different because you sign as an artist and that's kind of it. You're just who you are. But if you're selling beats to a label, you can sell beats to every artist on that label and recoup on none of them. You don't have to pay anything back. And it's not like you have some crushing debt. You don't have debt, period. It's just a matter of you not getting paid again. You want your accounts to recoup. If you're an artist, you get $1 million as an advance. Yeah, the label is going to probably make $8 million off of you at least before you see another check off that one singular royalty stream. We're just talking about sound recording royalties. We're not talking about publishing, aka the underlying composition, mechanicals, all that. You're still getting other money.
Let me confuse them even more. So if you don't take an advance and your if you don't take an advance and your royalty rate doesn't change, you're actually probably stupid for not taking the advance, right? The royalty rate should increase for not taking the advance.
Correct.
Because essentially that advance is just your money. That advance is your money. And if you understand the time value of money, you'd rather the money is more valuable today than waiting to get it later, right? So if you don't take an advance and the royalty rate stays the same, that's not very smart. You should only not take an advance if the royalty rate is going to increase by not doing so.
And
if that makes any sense to folks.
Increase significantly.
Yeah, hopefully it makes sense.
I want to chime in. I'm sorry I'm lagging, y'all, but this is not to say be reckless, because I understand. I've seen this debate with a lot of artists who don't actually make money. So they're like, man, I don't care. They can give me $1 million. I'm going to take it. Here's the problem with that, especially if you're in a crazy, the average that I see right now with deals, which hasn't changed since I got into hip hop. I got into hip hop like 6 or 7 years ago. I started in rock. Rock music deals are slightly different. I don't know what they look like right now, but hip hop deals when I started were between 12 and 17%. If you're a new artist and they believe in you, quote unquote, they give you about 12%. If you are an experienced artist, so to speak, then they were offering like 17%. And Malcolm Moore even talks about this when he was crushing it. I think he said Warner offered him like a 17.5% deal, and he was like, y'all are insane. But saying like, yeah, it's not a loan, so I'm going to take the $1 million and I'm good. And then then I'll never really have to pay it back. That's hustling backwards, because a lot of times they're not offering you $1 million if you don't already have a substantial. When we went to Def Jam, I had a ton of leverage. We had a decent following, but Def Jam had already promised somebody a song that they didn't own. Even with that, the deal was favorable in my favor, but we still didn't take a huge advance. So you already have to be in a really league of your own to get a solid advance, usually with a crazy single, something pretty wild. But say they do offer you maybe, and I again being generous, because I'm looking at a lot of artists, independent people are hitting me with their deals right now. They may be offering you $50,000, right? $50,000 to $100,000. If they offer you that and you're in a 15% deal, Some artists will be like, man, I'm going to take the 100K, whatever. If they don't do me right, I'll just go somewhere else. The problem is a lot of times you can't go anywhere else. If they shelf you, when you're signing these deals, a lot of the deals, you're signing over your name and likeness. If they decide that you cannot release your music, it's not that, oh, I just took the 100K and I'm cool, I'm going to just go release independent. You can't release music. So you got to be really careful if you do want to go that route and be like, I'm just going to take it, whatever, because you need to know what the fine print says. You can't just take it and, oh, well, I'm just going to go to Columbia, or I'm going to build up my catalog and go somewhere else, or I'm going to drop it into. There's a lot of places that I know a handful of artists who were really promising, incredible artists. And this was like maybe like 6 or 7 years ago when record labels were offering just a little bit more. They took $100,000 after taxes. That's the thing. People who don't really make money as self-employed individuals don't really understand the way those taxes hit. They hit very differently. You pay your taxes, you sign a big deal, so now you want to look a certain way. You know what I'm saying? You spend some money on some clothes, you pay off some debt, you get your mother something nice. You're looking at maybe $20,000, $30,000 in the bank, and this is an advance. Most of the time when they give you an advance, it's for a purpose. It's not just to look fresh. It's like you got to pay for your recording. Some people get a bonus, but they rarely give those out now. Your advance is meant to go into the music, which is why a lot of times they'll give you maybe half of your advance in cash and then another half of your advance towards your recording, or they'll give you the other half after you turn in songs. That's what a lot of labels are doing now. So if you go spend some of that money and then you don't get what you need, or they don't like the songs that you made and they don't choose to release them, then you're stuck. So when I went to Def Jam with my artists, they bought the single from us, and then they put $1 million in the deal, right? First, they gave us three options. First album cycle, $100,000. Second one was $250,000. Third one was I think $650. It was $1 million deal, right? Because we basically were like, we want $1 million deal. So they were like, this is the only way we'll do it. So the first advance we got was $15,000, but it was for a song we had already finished. The next advance that we were going to get was for $25,000 to finish an entire album. I also already had the album, so I was okay with that. Problem is, we gave them the album and Def Jam didn't like it. What I did in our deal, though, was that I said, if you guys choose to not release the music, we'll turn in up to 25 tracks. If y'all choose not to release the music, the option is dead. You guys keep that song. We get the option to, you drop us, we go on our own way. And that's what ended up happening. They didn't like the album. We turned in a few more songs. They didn't like those. We got out of the deal. So we didn't get our 25K, but we got our initial 15K, whatever. But if you don't understand the business, even talking like this, like, oh, it's a loan, it's not a loan. It's way worse than a loan, in my opinion. I get that they're not coming after you as loan sharks, but it's way worse than a loan. Because a loan, at least, when you pay it off, you own the house. But the record labels, you could pay off that advance, they still own your masters. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, yes, if you don't do well, it's not a loan in that aspect, so you're a little bit safe. But I'm not going in expecting not to do well. So if I'm going to do well and then I've recouped, I've made the money 10, 15 times over, and you just get to own the masters, you still get this money. It's crazy to me. So I think people need to be equipped with that. And I just want to highlight one more thing. This is why distributors, to me, have disrupted the industry in the best way. I have several great companies that I work with that give distribution deals. Two Lost gives distribution deals almost instantly. If you have the numbers, it's calculated, boom, 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 here's your offer. I think that's great. What I do when I have an artist that's bubbling, that needs a little bit more budget, I say, hey, here's their growth over the last year. Here's what they were doing 2 years ago. Here's what we're expecting to do. This is our marketing plan. I always go with the music already. Every manager doesn't do this, but I always go with tracks in hand. I say, hey, we have 15 tracks that we're about to drop over the next 12 months. I would like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. What a distributor will do, and again, if you got 50,000 monthly listeners, this is probably not applying to you. So shout out to y'all, but you got to be breaking at least typically 200, 300, 400,000 monthly listeners consistently, not because one song took off, but consistently. You say, hey, this is what we're going to plan to drop. I would like for you to give me 30 to 40,000 as a marketing budget. What they do is they front you that money against your streaming royalties. After you stream it and you recoup, you usually drop back into whatever deal you were in. So while in the recoupment process, it's not that you have to make it multiple times over. You just make it back once and then you drop into your split with the distributor. That's why I like distribution companies. It's way less money, but you own everything and they front you what you need. And once it's paid back, you're able to move forward. So if you're talking about smart business, good business, well, how am I supposed to infuse more money? Do I need an investor? Yada, yada, yada. I can't make all this. That's fine. But if you're growing and you're making money, there are options for you. It's not just a record label. Distributors have really revolutionized the music industry. And I think that if we can open up people's eyes to the available options, it's not just major label, indie label, investor, or my own pockets. It's these distributors are giving all sorts of, and once you build a relationship with them, there's a hybrid model. So like when I'm working with Vidya now, they may say, okay, well, we'll give you $50,000 for this. And in fact, we'll do well, I won't tell, I'm not going to get specifics of a deal, but they'll do hybrid deals and unique things to where you can still have cash flow where they won't take all your streaming if you have a proven methodology and if you have a proven system. But you really got to understand your business. You got to be consistent. You got to have the data. If it's not a manager there, you got to do this. But there's a lot of options in this industry. But again, I'm ranting today. I'm sorry. I just want people to be educated about the music industry. And I think hearing NLE Choppa's response to Moneyman saying, oh, nah, if you make $1 million, you just got to give $1 million back. That's true, but the $1 million comes out of your percentage. Most people are taking 15. The best deals I'm seeing right now, people are getting 30%. You know, like if you're doing really well, you're getting 30%. So that portion is coming through your 30%. So it's got to be done time and time again before you even see any more money. So yeah. Recoupment, it's wild.
Yeah, so in a way they're both wrong and in a way they're both right, but it's kind of an oversimplification. I guess Moneyman is more right than NLE because NLE made it seem like, all right, if you generate $1 million, you're in the clear. But no, again, you're generating it at a disadvantage. You're generating it as a much smaller percentage. So hopefully people understand that. And what was I going to say? Sada Baby said, I made $4.5 million for Asylum Records and ain't signed for no million. They'll take your money without giving you more money, more real money at first. That's why I look dumb now. So I guess he.
But hold on.
Sounds to me like.
I thought there was no money in streaming. So how are any of these deals happening?
Oh boy, here we go. All right, let me move on then to Kreayshawn's story. So I don't know if you remember Kreayshawn. She had a massive hit song, probably one of the first viral hits, I would say. You know, because we weren't talking about viral hits 15 years ago.
I don't remember what it was. What was it? I forget what it was.
It was Gucci Gucci. It came out in 2011.
It was like
so
Gucci, Louis.
It just recently.
She just repeated.
I know you know that song, Dame, because it was a West Coast song.
No, I don't. I honestly don't remember. I remember that she was a one-hit wonder, but I don't remember what the song sounded. I'm gonna have to play it after this podcast to remind myself.
Well, she went platinum recently, and a lot of people think because something goes platinum, that's because the threshold just hit. You know, she may have exceeded 1 million sales a long time ago. You have to audit a release to make sure it goes platinum. Like the Jeezy album that I have a platinum plaque for behind me, that had been gone platinum. It was just that the label didn't pay the $400 to the RIAA to audit it and make it official, so you get the hologram. So we have no idea when her single went platinum. But apparently this year in October, it was officially certified. It went gold in 2012, though. So you really think that decade plus it was growing at a consistent rate. No, it went platinum a while ago. They just didn't attend to it. That's my educated guess. And so her album did poorly, I guess. And it seemed like she had one of the most viral rises and viral falls in recent memory. And she recently, I think this is a tweet. She said, "Crazy that I still owe Sony $800K on one album for 10 plus years, but it's platinum. It's sounding fishy. I know motherfuckers are eating off me to this day, but platinum's still in the same money debt, 10 years, math not mathing, but damn, what the fuck is crazy?" And she showed the debt. I guess she showed one of her statements. She also admitted to being bitter, which I think is a cool admission, because a lot of people wouldn't say that. A lot of people would follow that up by saying, "But I'm not bitter though." And I'm like, no, she just said it. She said, "When my album dropped, it was low sales and everyone made fun of me, but it wasn't actually being streamed. But it was actually being streamed, but the streams don't count back then as sales like they do now." Because she's right about that. She says, "My true Oakland black metal album, I didn't know there's a genre of music called Oakland black metal. It sounds cool." She said, "It makes more money, so stream that." She also says, "I signed my contract before Spotify existed. I signed it when YouTube plays didn't mean anything monetizable. My contract talks about how you get your money if it's played on a phonograph or jukebox," laughing emoji. Pin that. "I got no managers for years now. I've tried finding help or new management, but it never worked out. I don't know, contact Dame." Do you guys want to know? I mean, there's money there, Dame. You can figure it out. Do you guys want to know the cherry on the cake? I don't think that's a real idiom, Kreayshawn. I think you made that one. I think she's coining that one. 3 days after I announced I was pregnant on Instagram, the label dropped me. That's another conversation. My God. Honestly, I wanted them to, because I hated working with them and I hated performing. But when they actually did it, I was actually pregnant. I was terrified. There's a lot to unpack in that one tweet, and maybe I don't want to touch that one right now. But I think she has a great point about her contract being, and this is the really unfortunate thing about Kreayshawn, because if Gucci had come out right now, I think this would be a different conversation because of the way virality works and streaming works. I think she could have capitalized on it a lot better than she did then, back when, unfortunately, content wasn't, on all of these platforms, you weren't monetizing like you are. You don't have those options like you do today.
And there's other ways for, somebody like, she could have been on like Love and Hip Hop. There's other things that people do now once they're at the tail end or the down part of their career. But
but also not if she's pregnant. So that maybe would have been something that she opted not to do if she's taking care of herself and her child.
Right. Well, Erinn has to go soon. So what point do we want to bring home about the Kreayshawn situation?
A lot of people are confused as to why and how this could even happen. And there was a lot going on. She signed a $1 million deal, but as Erinn explained, the $1 million deal doesn't mean you're getting $1 million all at once. It means, maybe she got $500,000 and the second half was going to hit after her second album. I don't know what her deal was. I wish she had explained it more. She also claimed that her accountant was stealing money from her. His name is Kevin Foster. I imagine that. Oh yeah, he's he was in prison for doing that. So there's some credence to that. But there's more to it. So Kreayshawn says she was basically a drug addict at the time. And probably not paying attention to what was going on, as many artists don't when you're, high on the success. But she clarifies that she gets no money from streams for that song, which I was like, wait, she's self-published, because I looked up on a Ace title search to see if she had signed a publishing deal, because I'm like, then maybe she signed a bad publishing deal, but at least she got money off that. She didn't. She's self-published. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why would she sign a bad label deal but not a bad publishing deal? Wouldn't she want $1 million off the publishing deal too? I mean, if she's just signing deals anyway, this is an important other fact to note. It seems like everything was working against her. She didn't write most of the song, so her underlying composition interest was probably a minority share. A rapper named Speaks with a Z wrote the song for her. And when you consider that, I would love to hear from Speaks. I would love to hear from the producer who made the beat for Gucci Gucci, because he likely has 50% ownership in the underlying composition, and I want to know what his royalty statements are looking like, because it's clear that she's on narcotics as this is happening. She's drinking lean. She has a terrible accountant who's served prison time for defrauding his clients. She didn't write the majority of her biggest hit. She took a huge advance. Her label dropped her after she announced her pregnancy. She signed a deal before streaming, before YouTube monetization, before again, this is probably why it took so long for the album to get certified platinum as well, before streams counted as sales equivalents. And I think what I want people to take away from this is that these situations are incredibly complicated. Please, 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 if you find yourself in a situation where you're going to potentially sign a deal, don't just hire a lawyer the morning of and sign that afternoon. Know who the lawyer is, trust that person, and then trust yourself enough to ask all these right questions. Learn from these other folks, these other artists' mistakes. The other thing that I think we should take away from this is that headlines are amazing. They're really appealing, and they really get an emotional response from us. The headline for this article that I was quoting from is on Vulture, and it says, Kreayshawn makes no money off Gucci Gucci, in debt to Sony. That's a terrifying headline, but it's not the full truth. Again, as I said, she didn't write the song. There was a lot going on with her contract. She admits to being on drugs at the time. There's a lot going on that created the perfect storm for Kreayshawn to get fucked over. And part of it is the nature of the music business. Part of it is the predatory nature of the people around her, including her label, including her deal. And I would love to know what her lawyer would have to say about this. Hopefully she had a lawyer when she signed. We don't know. That's another missing piece. But the fact is, these are complicated situations that a headline can never do justice to. And so when people read these headlines and they tweet about how artists are in debt, it's a very small snapshot of a huge picture that we are not privy to. That's why these conversations are frustrating, because we eventually hit a ceiling where beyond this point, we don't know the information. I don't know what's in the contract, because artists don't release their contracts. Out of shame, maybe they think they'll get in trouble for doing that. I don't know, but I would love...
I said Kanye released his. Well, parts of it.
Well, and I wish more artists would just drop the PDF. I mean, I don't know. I've shown my contracts live on a stream, because there's really, if there's a bad part in it, that's on me. You should be able to learn from it.
A lot of these artists are just as manipulative as these headlines. They're going to share whatever supports their argument that they're going to try to make. And if there's something in their contract that goes against the argument that they're trying to make, then they're going to omit that piece. Like, that's how people are. People are going to share what like supports the argument that they're trying to make to manipulate the audience into thinking that it was all one way. Like that's just the nature of it.
Yeah, and I think she made some good points about the technology and deals being structured before there was the streaming revolution. But she also kind of gave us glimpses into her mind state at the time, which wasn't one that was conducive to signing a good deal, understanding fully what was going on. And I think in all of this, she's expressing a lot of confusion about how the music business actually works, just like anybody else. Just, if artists understood what was going on with their own contracts, they wouldn't be going on social media saying, what's up with this statement? Why is this happening? They would be having these conversations internally with their teams and getting to the root of it. But it's easier to go online and muse about this because at very least it starts a conversation. We're having the conversation. Now, if Kreayshawn had never gone public and tweeted about this information, we would never have known about it. So, I think there's a lot of good that can come from these. And it goes back to part one of this conversation. If you're an artist who's really serious about their business at this point, you're gonna read articles such as the ones that we just covered with Kreayshawn, and when the time comes for you to sign the deal, you're gonna learn from that situation, not be fear driven and say, I'm never gonna sign a deal. Forget that. You're gonna say, okay, I need to understand these deal points and really have a solid legal team around me and have a solid foundation when I walk into a situation where I could potentially sign a deal that 10 years down the line, I'm on Twitter talking about I regret.
Yeah. It also goes to the first part of our conversation is like, if you are good at making quality songs, like you probably would have a different outcome, but she didn't write her songs, and probably popped off prematurely, didn't really have much of a, foundation prior to signing her deal. But anyway, as I know Erinn has to hop off, so we can wrap it up. Payne.
Can I ask one question?
Well, yeah.
Can I just ask a question? If you have listened this far and you are an artist, because I at this point, I kind of keep hearing the same complaints, but if you've listened this far and you're an artist that feels like you're doing great quality stuff and you feel like stuck, please comment, hey Erinn, I think X, Y, and Z would help me. I need to know. I want to look on YouTube. You can DM me. You can DM the MEC page because we're still posting there for now. I just want to know what y'all feel like y'all need because I would like to be more intentionally constructive moving into the new year with the content versus just aggregating what's going on in the industry. Even like potentially like offering some like crash courses in person, because I know everybody's like tired of taking courses online, but I want to know. I'm currently thinking about stuff. I want to do a lot in the new year to be intentional about helping, especially our community, because a lot of y'all are super dope. People have been engaging with me in a non-weird way, and I just want to highlight this again. Several of y'all in the last 2 or 3 months have been DMing me and having conversations with me, and it's been really encouraging to me. I'll shout out Yanir Gaines. He's been really encouraging me, but there's a handful more who've been asking thoughtful questions, not being weird and expecting me to like give them all my time. And I feel like our community, the strength is growing. I would like to be intentional. So what do you feel like you need? Is it rollout strategy? Is it resources? Like, if y'all can just comment what you feel like you need, and we can help kind of guide that. And then even if you're like, yeah, if we could spend a day with y'all, that would be great. I want to get all my questions answered. I want to know. So comment that below. I feel like that would help us moving into 2024 to really help y'all.
And if what you need is some speakers, I would like to get these out of this room. If you're building a home studio, I'll give you a very, 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 very favorable price just to get these out of my office. If you know anybody that needs, I don't even pay, there's speakers, there's headphones, there's microphone. If you're building a home studio, you probably have 80% of what you need right here, maybe 70% of what you need. So hit me
Damn, I
up
may want to buy some of those
directly on
mics.
Instagram.
I'll hit you.
That's nice that we got in a little transaction at the end. Appreciate you tuning in. TwoLost.com. The code is pain. You can still win tens of thousands of dollars with the collab for the crown contest. So don't miss that. I know people who are submitting. I don't know why you wouldn't, but hey, more money for them. Yeah, we'll be back same time, same place with another rant. It's never clear. We've been taking turns ranting. First it was Dame, then it was me. Today it was Erinn. So that means it's got to be Dame again next time. So Dame, get ready for your rant.
That's that at
Create
odds
some more
energy.
incendiary tweets.
That's that at odds energy. You know
I
what I'm
mean, basically. So we are living up to our new name, and we appreciate you rocking with us throughout the various name changes and the nameless period that we went through over the last couple months. Till next time, peace.
Peace.